Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PowerCast live with you guys every Tuesday night. A very exciting show. We have a legend in the show today, a legend in the place. Very excited to have him here. But before we get started, I want to say first of all, we apologize. Eric Vasquez couldn't be with us today. He's got work. He's got a lot of things going on. He hates when he has to miss, but unfortunately, he couldn't make it to the show. And I know he really wanted to sit down with you, Mr. Tony Falcone. And before we get to Tony, I want to make sure you all know how to find us. Now, we have a lot of new guests watching the show today. A lot of your fans have been reaching out. How do we see Tony Falcone live on the PowerCast, this podcast tonight? And we've been getting a lot of text messages and emails and Facebook things. We're so excited to have them. So thank you so much for being part of our show. You can catch us every week on YouTube. You go to Team Powerhouse Real Estate if that's your best place. Facebook here on David Lamel. On Facebook, you can also go to Team Powerhouse Real Estate on Facebook. You can go to our Instagram page where you have our, again, live show over here happening again. We have a tremendous following there on Team Powerhouse Real Estate. You can catch us on Rumble, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, in the car, on the road, on Spotify. You can catch us on LinkedIn and Twitter, or now known as X, also live. So and there's a few other places that's kind of getting crazy and it's exciting, and we just appreciate being a part of your lives. We are a real estate team. It's Team Powerhouse Real Estate, but we do a podcast that's not just real estate related because it gets boring after a while to talk about real estate. And the people don't want to hear just about real estate. Right. They know what's going on sometimes. They need a little break from that. They want to know what's going on in the local communities. We bring local businesses in. And today, we have a legend in the show today. His name is Tony Falcone, an artist not only well known in Connecticut. He's from, well, I'm going to find out where he's from in a minute, in Connecticut, in the United States, but worldwide. And we're so happy to have you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, Tony, there's a lot of questions we have here that we're going to go over and try and get through as much as we can. If not, we get to a show number 2 with you, because this is something that there's so much going on with you, how you got to here, where you're...
I call it the continuing saga.
The continuing saga, I love it. So let's start with a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Born and raised?
So I was born in New Haven.
Okay.
And I grew up in Bethany.
Okay.
And basically, that's where I'm from. I spent like my years growing up in going to Amity High School. And,
as did I.
And then I went to college for a short time. And it's kind of funny because I was majoring in business.
I was going to say, well, where'd you go to college?
I went to Oglethorpe College in Atlanta, Georgia for 2 years.
Wow.
And then I transferred to UB, University of Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And I was taking business as a major. I didn't know anything about art.
I think that business is something that you automatically just, they say, what are you going to major in? And I think business administration is like automatically the first thing people
That was what my father told me I should do.
Because you want to be in business, you want to make money somehow, we don't know what part of it exactly. Right. So when and how, I guess the question came from, so how did you decide to become an artist? Like, how did that happen?
Well,
was art like a thing you loved in high school and in college that you just were like, oh my God?
It's kind of funny. I was always the kid in grammar school that knew how to draw the maps, and everybody wanted me to do their map assignments for them.
No kidding.
But I didn't do any art again until I was 27 years old.
So back in the day, they actually drew maps.
Right. You didn't have your iPhone to look
right.
up where you were. And then I ended up like well, a long story short is I didn't graduate from college. I decided to leave college because I got married and I was starting to raise a family, and the important thing was have an income.
Absolutely.
And my dad goes, well, you need a job. You should, he was a New Haven fireman. He was a captain in the New Haven Fire Department.
Love that. Fantastic.
He said, you should get a job. The fire department is hiring. I went down. I did really well. Got the job. I'm a New Haven fireman. And then every fireman has a paper route, like a second job. And my second job was I was a lifeguard.
Wow.
At Woodhaven Country Club in Bethany.
Okay.
And then I got into being the pool director, and I started hiring other lifeguards. And to get back to your question, how did I get started being an artist? I hired this guy, Dan Dodona. He was
Dan Dodona.
Dan Dodona, and he was going to Southern to be an art teacher, and he was a lifeguard. And I asked him, can you do arts and crafts with the kids? Because I need a lifeguard and somebody to do arts and crafts. Yeah. So we started like being friends. He saw me doing a doodle one day and he goes, wow, he goes, that's really good. Are you an artist? I said, no, I'm a fireman. He goes, let's do a mural. And I'll never forget, I said, what's a mural?
Right, right.
And he goes, we'll paint this wall. So we painted, the very first painting I ever did was at Woodhaven, and it was on a handball court.
No
And
kidding.
it was a giant ice cream cone
Wow.
lying on its side, melting in the grass, with ants playing, red and black ants playing in the ice cream.
Do you still have a picture of that ice cream cone?
Oh, yeah.
Is that something Judy might have sent to us?
I'm not sure.
I want to just interrupt for a minute.
Sure.
Tony over here, he has an amazing partner. Her name is Judy. And for all of you who don't know Judy, she's basically his right hand, and she is his computer, and she is his person who helps make sure that he is in order. Is that fair to say that?
I would say every artist needs a Judy, because I couldn't be anywhere where I am today without her. She's just fantastic. She has good vision, she has good kind of insight into how to do things on a very professional level. And that's how I always wanted to be after I started doing artwork. I didn't want to just fool around with art. I wanted to do something, serious with it.
Absolutely.
So that's Judy.
Well, thank you so much,
and
Judy.
art.
What's that?
Partner in life and art.
So I want to thank Judy so much for allowing Tony to be here this evening. Hopefully Judy's watching the show tonight, as well as many of your friends. And if anybody out there has any questions for Tony, and you're on the podcast and watching, you're more than welcome to reach out and ask questions as we're doing this interview. As we get through questions, of course, over here, I'm sure a lot of your friends are going to be reaching out. Now, they could be on our team page, they could be on our personal page, they could be on Instagram, they could also be on TikTok. I want to say thank you to TikTok for watching every week. There's about 20,000 followers watching you right now, which is pretty exciting stuff, too. How about that? A lot of people live all over the world. So you have Connecticut local, you have your Cheshire crew of people who know you, you have Bethany people, you have people from all over the country, all over the state,
Nice.
all over the world watching you.
Well, I hope I do a good job.
I'm sure you're going to do a great job. All right, so let's get into some questions here.
Sure.
Do you have any formal training in education and art?
No.
The answer is no, right?
None.
So I have all these questions prepared in advance. What or who inspires you, and are there any artists that you admire? So what and who inspires you as an artist?
Okay. I used to say it was Michelangelo because I was a mural painter, and he still inspires me. And in Maxfield Parrish, I always thought he had it down where he would learn, he just knew how to paint images that appealed to a wide audience. So I like that aspect. And Norman Rockwell, all the kind of traditional artists. But I have to say that even some of my favorite artists are the artists I know from New Haven and around Connecticut, that there's some fantastic artists and a lot of talent right here in New Haven. And I just, I've learned a lot from them. I'm so pleased to call them friends. And
That's fantastic. And I'm sure they feel the same way about you. Because you know what? When you have a connection with people, it's not like a job anymore. It's just like language. You're talking a language with each other.
exactly.
The language of art.
Yeah.
Where did your talent come from, and are there any artists in your family?
I always kid my mom. She's 98. Hi, Mom. Hope you're watching.
Hey, Mom, we hope you're watching, and thank you so much for the great job you did with Tony over here.
I always tease her that she was the reason I have talent, and she'll say, no, that's not true. And my father was really talented, but he was one of 9 children, and I think it was hammered into him, never be an artist. You have to go out and make money, because he came from the generation, of World War II, and I think he could have been a really good artist. But what he did was after he became a New Haven fireman, he also started his own business building homes. And
No kidding.
He had quite a few homes he built in Bethany and around Connecticut. And I always used to work for him from the time I could pick up a hammer. And I never saw him take out blueprints. So he just built homes out of his imagination. He was just really talented.
That would be, so in my opinion, someone who builds is an artist to some degree, because you're creating something from nothing, right? And that's kind of what art is in my imagination, in my brain.
Right.
You can take something, have a vision, and you design and build it. And like you said, we're a baker or someone who's baking and cooking. They don't keep recipe books. The best cooks in the world, they don't have a book to kind of share with other people. They just boom, 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 boom,
Right.
and just kind of throw it together. As an artist, you kind of have it all here, and then you process your information. You might write some notes for yourself down, and then you go right to work. Is that fair?
The funny thing is that when I was a New Haven fireman, because I didn't really get to that, but in depth, but I never really was fully a New Haven fireman. I always kind of started doing art after I was a New Haven fireman. I always thought, gee, this would be neat to do more art. But I always thought it'd be neat just to dream up projects, and the fellow firemen or the people that kind of knew I was thinking of quitting the fire department, which is another part of the story, because I quit the New Haven Fire Department. And they always went, wow, you're crazy, you're a dreamer, man.
Right.
And I always used to go, thank you.
Right.
Because everything is dreamt, everything. This microphone is dreamt.
Absolutely.
Your show is dreamt, everything that we're all doing. It's just our imagination.
It comes to reality.
And we're sending people out to inhabit the moon and Mars. That was
Right.
all dreamt.
Absolutely true.
So I kind of take that as a compliment. And that's kind of the way it works for me.
Listen, it's a way that works for everybody. Just no one else talks about it and says it because it doesn't sound like the cool thing to say necessarily. But reality is that's exactly how things happen. Things have to start with an idea that's in your mind, and then slowly that piece
Right.
of information that kind of goes to paper or goes to a computer. In today's smart world, be going to a computer and goes to production, right? That's art in the end of the day. But so what art is to you out there, and what art is to Tony, and what he creates from nothing into something, just makes it magical. It's like Disney.
It
You
is
create-
magical. It's not something I even expect. Sometimes I go, how am I ever going to come up with an idea? And then something comes together. It's fascinating.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you have a favorite medium?
Well, these days I'm into oil paints
Okay.
and pastels.
Okay.
I just love things that blend and just kind of work together really nice.
Is there a
But I've
favorite-
used every medium from acrylics to watercolor to charcoal, you name it, airbrush.
And is there a favorite subject in the kind of art you design to draw or do?
For subjects, if it has to do with interesting light effects, it doesn't matter what the subject is. I love light and shadow and reflective highlights on things. I just think those are so elusive to try to capture.
Let's get a chance for people to see some of the art that you've done before. What I want to do is have the audience have a chance, if they haven't seen before, your beautiful work. I'm going to try and get over here on my screen for the people to see who are on Instagram, if I can do this correctly. Thane's going to run that through on all these social media streaming levels over there. And Thane, let me know when you're there as I just
We
refresh.
also have George Munner.
On there, and Thane,
Oh.
let me know when you're there. I'm gonna load that volume, buddy, so we don't get a, yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
Sorry.
We're coming through this together over here, live, so I'm gonna click this myself. And,
George Munner said, "Go Tony and Julie."
George Mummer. George, hi.
thank you for watching the show, George. We appreciate you being a part of our day, evening, and this amazing experience being here. Thane, are you gonna start putting those things on the screen over here? Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and get people to see, I'm gonna flip my camera, my laptop around. Let me know where that goes.
Can I say something to George?
Yes, absolutely. George is your, right
Well,
now.
I also want to compliment George because I got to meet George through the Peabody Museum. And George is an amazing sculptor and a fabricator of bronze sculptures and other sculptures. He's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
A good buddy of mine's in Lancaster, Sinking Springs area.
So George was the fellow that took my clay autogram bust that I sculpted.
Hold on one second. Thane, I'm gonna make sure you're able to reach this so it doesn't go black on anybody over here, so they can see the screen, hopefully on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
All right. So you were
So
saying,
George took the clay original that I made and he fabricated it in bronze.
Wow.
And it was an amazing process. It was my first ever doing a bronze sculpture, and George was the guy who did it, and he's done work for the Peabody Museum, and I got to know him through Michael Anderson, who was one of the head preparator.
What are we looking at? I see a gentleman there. Who is that?
Okay, that is Sir Terence Harrison,
Uh-huh.
who is, he's the chairman
Yeah, you have a little
of
faster.
Rolls-Royce.
Okay, and who's this young lady here?
This is Catherine Gillis, who is the dean of the Yale School of Nursing. This is her official portrait for Yale when she left Yale, when she retired.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, she's an awesome person. I got to go down to Duke to have her pose for that.
No kidding.
And
How long
then-
was she posing for?
Well, she probably posed for like 2 or 3 sessions, and about an hour a session. And
Wow.
I do a lot of photographs so I can finish the portrait back at the studio.
Are you rolling through the different photos? I see it right now. Is there going to change?
I see Catherine.
Is there another one coming on the screen? Oh, here we get it. This one's very small.
Yeah.
Oh, who's this? Is it a judge?
Yes, this is Fleming Norcott. He's a judge.
And these are all, by the way, these are not pictures. These are actually drawings and art that you've done. And
Well,
drawing
this
is
is-
not the
this
right-
would be an
a
oil painting.
An oil painting.
This is his official portrait for the court where he was up in Hartford.
The detail is unbelievable. Oh my God, that looks like a
This is-
photograph.
This is my 2 grandsons and Judy, and we were in a corn maze, and it was just a quick moment where they all came together and she hugged them, and I took a quick grab shot of it, and I said, oh, I'm gonna have to surprise Judy, so I
And
did a
again,
portrait.
this is actual an oil painting, not
Unlimited.
an actual photograph. You're looking at actual artiste who's painted these pictures, which literally looks like a photograph. It might even be more detailed than a photograph, which is even more remarkable, just to show the quality of your work and what you do as an artist. Wow, that's an amazing picture. Who's that?
That is Sandra Stowes, who is the Commandant at the Coast Guard Academy in New London, and she is, she's retired, but she was Vice Admiral of the Coast Guard.
Wow.
She's an amazing person. She's the first woman to lead a service academy in the United States.
No kidding. Who do we have in front of us over there?
This is Herbert Pierce, who was Herb Pierce Realty.
No
And
kidding.
Herb Pierce was a really great patron of mine,
Wow.
and a fun guy. He was just the coolest guy.
You can tell by his smile they just have a great personality over there.
And, you know, the background is really important because
You have
he
to
was a
read it.
fellow at Berkeley College,
Oh.
and he wanted to have Yale in the background.
I was going to say, I thought that was New Haven background. I got nervous when you
Yeah.
said, okay, Berkeley, okay. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, you could see, like,
I love the detail in
Hall
the
and-
jacket and the color with the tie. I mean, like,
and
to
his
me,
pose is so cool.
that looks
This is
like
this is a private commission for a family, and it was a surprise for her husband, and this woman in front and her son posed for me first, and then her husband posed later because she wanted to surprise him.
So you're saying to me that you did these people individual, not even in the same room together. You had 2 people sitting there, or how long do they sit there for in that spot? Or you see them in your eyes, and then how does it work?
For this particular one, it was fun. Her dad posed for the positioning of her husband.
No kidding.
So I would do a full charcoal rendering and use photographs of her husband after, or for this composition to see if they were really pleased with it. And they loved it. And then from that, I would do a finished drawing and then a finished painting.
I'm blown away. And again, if anybody has any questions out there, looking at some of these things over here, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook and TikTok, again, I appreciate you watching the show today and being a part of this special event. I hope you can see the actual photos we have over here on the screen. And this still showing the photos on the side here, right, Thane? All right. Any questions out there at all from either Facebook page or Instagram? Be positive. All right, because I get yelled at from people all the time when we don't answer questions. So if we miss anything, we will get back to you. Tony will be in touch with you. We appreciate you watching this show. What a beautiful dog. Is it a Labrador, it looks like over there? Or some kind of a
It's actually a golden.
golden
and,
retriever.
Yeah, a
Yes.
woman who really loves raising golden retrievers, and this was Bo, her favorite golden retriever, and we went for a walk. Funny story, I couldn't get a good picture of this dog And we were walking along a beach, and I'm trying to get the dog to really look like a golden retriever in action.
Yes.
And he's just sniffing the ground and not doing anything. And all of a sudden, he goes into that pose, and I'm going, what the heck is he looking at? And about 2 miles down the beach, there's a dot, and it's another dog.
No kidding.
And I went, oh, that's the pose I want.
Right.
Because he's full attention, you know.
You had his attention enough long enough to see that look in his face to
Yeah.
remember what it looks like.
We'll be doing a portrait of her next golden retriever coming up this year.
If you're out there and you have a dog, you would love a dog painted, or maybe your wife or your husband or a family, what an amazing opportunity to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
that a commissioned job. Who's Lassie over there?
Okay, this was another commissioned portrait, and this is Jack. Jack is, this gentleman that commissioned this was part of the project I did with the United States Coast Guard. And he's the commander, and he spearheaded the whole project, and he knows my work. Excuse me, and then out of the blue, he said, gee, our dog has passed away, would you do a portrait of him?
Wow.
So I asked him for a few different pictures, and I ended up composing this with the background and whatnot to make it look like Jack, like a nice portrait bust. I didn't want to do the whole dog because I really loved his face
Yeah, yeah.
and his chest. And that portrait actually won first prize in
Can you make them
competition.
flip a little faster by chance? Let's make them a little faster because we're
We're pretty close to it.
okay. Because what I want to do is I want to get more. Oh, look at that. That's the main sculpture you've done over there.
Yeah, that's the process of where I'm at the finishing touches on the clay, and that's using plastilina, which is an oil-based clay. And then from that, we do a mold, and then the mold is then used to pour literally liquid bronze into a cast.
Wow.
And then you create what's called the lost wax process to create a bronze.
I watched the video on your website on you making this whole process,
Oh, you
which
did?
I thought was amazing. And if anybody hasn't gone to Tony Falcone's website, you definitely want to go and check that out.
It's called the making of the autogram
Yeah,
sculpture.
it's pretty amazing stuff. And what's your website?
Oh, it's falconeartstudio.com.
FalconeArtStudio.com. Definitely want to check that out to see what he's got going on there. Anybody out there have any questions or comments?
So this is
Tina Falcone said breathtaking.
Tina Falcone, is that a sister?
yeah.
Very nice. Tina, thank you so much for being part of our show today.
Thanks, Dean.
It's your brother, right? Your sister's sister?
Yes.
Your brother is one heck of a guy. I'm sure growing up, he must have been the guy that was getting into trouble, and who knew would become an artist.
Right. Right. I was also the person that terrorized her. No.
Listen,
There's-
all brothers and sisters go through a time period where
Tina is awesome. She's great.
that's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Is that the last photo, or is there any more? Okay. So let's get back into the questions. Guys, I got so many questions. And I know we have more art photos to see, but what I'm going to tell you all very much, you need to go to his website. You've got to see the things he's been doing, all the oil paintings and the portraits and all the things you've got in there. There are hundreds just to get an idea. But more importantly, if you are looking to get an artist to come and make something in your life a reality, this is a guy that is going to make something very special for you and your family. Definitely want to get a hold of him. And I'm not sure if his number's on the screen there, Thane, but I definitely want to make sure we have it up there at 203-671-1256. That's Tony Falcone. All right, let me get back into some more questions with you.
Okay, really quick, we got George Mummer. Congratulations, Tony, at 50 years creating, having fun, and living the dream. And then Tina said, awesome guy, I'm always amazed by his work.
Nice.
Yeah, some great friends and family out there who are watching this show. You know, 50 years. I can't believe you 50 years in the business because you don't, first of all, the fact of the matter is you don't look old. You look like you've got to that point where you're ready to make
Like a
things.
fine wine.
Like a fine wine. But you know what? You look like you're ready to take on the world. I met you where? I met you in the gym.
That's right.
All right? And you're not a guy who's like slow moving around. You know, taking
That
your time.
scares me when I look at people moving really slow.
Yeah, but you're a mover and a shaker.
Because like 50 years, Dave, I mean, that's hard to wrap my head around.
If I didn't know you, I would have said you're in the, I don't know, mid to older 50s.
20s, 30s.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But only because I'm going to be 50, so I don't see as much difference in age. But to say they've been doing 50 years art, that's unbelievable.
Well, I could attribute that to clean living, Dave.
I believe you. Clean living and a good
Kidding.
Judy.
Judy keeps me alive and healthy because she knows I got a lot more art ahead of me.
You know, I want to say to you, our wives need us to be around, so they make sure we're staying in good shape and healthy, right? They need to make sure we eat
I
well.
owe it to her, trust me.
We're well cleaned, well prepared for everything in the world, so we can go out there and make it happen.
She dresses me well.
Got the Ball and Socket Arch thing over there. Ball and Socket is a place in Cheshire that Tony's very much involved in. We can to get that more also.
Yep.
We're going to talk more about that maybe in the next show. I have a bunch of questions to get here through. If you don't mind, everybody, if there's any questions you have, please don't hesitate to ask. What have been some of your most challenging projects?
So it's funny because, people know me originally, like years ago. I was the mural painter. I was the guy doing the Cinemark movie theater, hundreds of feet of artwork. And then I did Sports Haven with the giant horse mural.
So he did Sports Haven in New Haven.
So you're 100 feet up in the air and everybody says, wow, that must be so scary. I go, actually, no, the most challenging painting I've done lately is the last portrait I painted.
Really?
People go, what? And the reason is because nobody really looks at the horses and says, gee, does that really look like that horse?
Yeah.
But when you do the portrait of a family with their children, or, now it's got to be right on. I love to do a portrait where it looks like, it's not only looks like them, but it almost feels like they're going to get up
And walk out of the picture.
over and say hello. So that's challenging.
I believe you, but let me go back to the whole painting of the horses.
Yep.
And I knew, first thing I said to Tony is Teletrack, which was before Sports Haven, right?
That's right.
So what year did you paint? Do you remember what year that was when you did that?
Yeah, I was commissioned to do the east wall in 1995.
The east wall, meaning the east side of it?
It's the wall that has the most horses on it charging directly at you.
Okay.
And then to make the whole picture complete in everyone's mind, that building is round. So my goal was to paint the building totally like 180 degrees. So when you're driving up 95, you see the whole race, the start, the midpoint where they're at the clubhouse turn, and then they're coming into the finish line. So I had this whole 180 degrees. I actually created a model of the building, painted it, brought that down, sold it to them. They loved it. And then they changed CEOs like 3 times on this project.
Okay.
So I only got to do the east wall, and then I came back and did the north wall. And my goal was to paint 3 more 90-foot long horses to show you the finish of the race, where they get to the finish line and they're neck and neck. And they changed CEOs the 3rd time. They said, we don't need any more. I think they were really planning to sell the building.
Let me ask you a question. So, and a lot of people have asked me to ask this question out there. How did you do it? I mean, like, were you skydiving and jumping at a? I mean, like, what you were hanging
It's
off
a big
of
decal. You just send away for it.
Get out of here! I was like, what? No, you was it like one of those things where you were rappelling off the side of the building and painting? Was it like
for the Sports Haven,
scaffolding?
being the building is 100 feet high, I decided no pipe staging, so I did swing stage, where you have parapet clamps that clamp to the top of the building, and then cables. And then cables go down to a ladder bed that can raise me up and down with electric hoists.
Wow.
So I would just push buttons and slide up and down the building. But to create the design, the master drawing was only about maybe 18 by 12 inches.
No kidding.
And then what I did was I gridded that drawing off and then blew it up. In other words, zoomed it up to maybe 500%. And when I got to the wall, I was taking a chalk line and snapping a blue line vertical every 3 feet, and then a horizontal line every 3 feet. So I turned the building into a piece of grid paper, kind of.
In
And
your
then I took
mind
my-
or physically on?
It was physically gridded off on the building, and then I took my master drawing, which was gridded, and a small 3 by 3 inches, I just took that design and made it 3 by 3 feet, each box.
No kidding.
So there was like 270 boxes for just the east wall.
Wow.
And if you copy them all exactly, and you label each box, like the rows were A, B, C, D, and the columns were 1, 2, 3.
You had to have it mathematically, can you get the word in my mouth? Like set up, I mean, literally,
Yeah,
because,
if I was off by a quarter of an inch in my math, by the time you went 100 feet, I could be off like maybe
Right.
4 feet.
the legs of the horse might have been like off.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had enough room for the mural.
Proportion, no,
And then you can't erase
you
it.
can't erase it.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No making mistakes when it comes to art on a wall. 'Cause
So
every
I
driving
kind of
by,
mastered that.
wait a minute, what just happened there? But I mean, I remember driving by always and seeing that mural going, how did that get there? Was it like something, like it looks like a big
Yeah.
sticker, almost, I mean, it's amazing that you actually went up there and actually painted on this building.
Yeah, for big artwork like that, public artwork, the grid technique is the fastest way to do it.
Amazing.
For me, because I like the accuracy of it.
What is the most challenging project you've ever had? What was the most fun and what was the scariest?
So the
So-
most challenging,
Yes.
that would have to be, I received a commission from the United States Coast Guard to do the history of the Coast Guard from 1940 to 9/11
Wow.
to 2000. And to do that was incredibly challenging because I had no knowledge of what the Coast Guard does. So part of our agreement when we were working out our commission was, who's going to do the research on this? And they said, well, you'll do the research, but we'll provide a champion. And that champion will work with you to make sure your design is right, also to make sure that you have all the research material you need. So a champion would be like when I did D-Day, this is when our troops landed at Omaha Beach
Yeah.
in 1944. The champion was an actual officer on one of those landing craft that landed at Omaha Beach
Wow.
that day, that morning. And his name was Al Green, he was from Oklahoma City. So we would work back and forth with like emails and phone conversations. So that made the project less challenging, but still, I had to please somebody that was there and knows everything that happened that day.
Makes a lot, that makes things very difficult, especially the emotion involved in that. What was the most fun project, if that's a way to say it? What project did you enjoy the most?
Let's see.
Just
Some of
get-
them are scary and fun. When you start to like get it
Cross
under
between
control,
fun and
then
scary.
it becomes fun. I think every painting to me is fun after I lay all the foundation in and I start to add details and I start to make it. It's kind of like Judy has the word for it. She goes, add the glimmers, add the magic, because you could get the painting to look good, but to make it go to another level, that's when it becomes fun.
You make it, you turn it into like a Disney character, you make it into something that the magic comes out, you sprinkle a little dust on it.
Magic dust.
Magic dust. Love it. All right. What is the process for creating art on a commission basis? And again, to understand what that means, creating art on a commission basis. A commission basis is how you're paid,
Right.
right? So what is the process of creating art on a commission basis? And a very simple answer.
So
As you can.
Judy and I really developed a process. It was something that was happening intrinsically. I would do a sketch. So imagine a sketch that's only like 2 by 3 inches. And I could knock out an idea in maybe 4 minutes, just a quick sketch. And I call that a thumbnail. So that was the best part of the process,
We know
because I
about
would send
thumbnails.
that off to like the United States Coast Guard, and they got a committee, and they're reviewing all this stuff. I said, I'm not gonna show you a finished design.
Right, just give me like, do you
I'm
like
just
this
gonna-
idea?
Is
Give-
this kind of what you like?
Right,
So that would get us in a direction.
right.
And once we establish a really good direction, and they liked that, and they would comment on that sketch, then I would do a preliminary drawing
The fact-
And that wouldn't be real detailed,
Right.
but it would show all the things they wanted.
Because you need to get their juices flowing, realistically. So you give them a little something to kind of get them to kind of
Get
give
their
some comments in,
imagination
right?
to like, join me
Then-
in the process.
Now they have some feedback for you. They get some feedback for you. Now you kind of see what direction they want to go to with the feedback. Boom. Now you're already going through your mind what you think is going to happen. You send a little zerts, a little
But
piece
don't
out.
show them anything final.
No final because
Never show them
because
anything
oh my
final.
God, they have all the critique in the world with if it's final before it's final.
And I do this, the United States Coast Guard, and we had like they had a committee that reviewed everything and sent back comments.
Talk about
That's
pressure.
one very complicated process, so you have to simplify it for everyone.
Right.
And the same process I would use even just for a nice, like a private home that wants a mural, or if you wanted a portrait, or I do a compositional sketch. It's just a sketch. Tear it apart.
Right.
It's fun.
Right.
Let's get what you
Get
want.
some, but the ideas start flowing. How do you get work?
How do I get work?
Yeah.
All kinds of ways. Like a podcast. Here it is. This wonderful opportunity for me to kind of meet a
Expose
wider
yourself
audience.
to the world.
Yeah, and this wouldn't have happened without your invite. So thank you.
Absolutely, my friends. Thank you for being here.
Another way would be Judy and I would go. We're members of Chamber of Commerce of Greater New Haven and Cheshire, and we would go to events, and we just. I like to be visible
Schmoozing.
because I'm in my studio
I call it
working on a painting.
schmoozing. You got to schmooze with people, get them to know who you are and
Yeah.
like you, and get to see what you're about, and then for them to want to dive deeper into your conversation and to look you
Yeah.
up and see what you do.
And I hand out my logo pencils, and we're all set.
Do you work alone?
Um, well, lately I've been working alone because I'm not doing very big projects. But when I do larger projects, I always like to have an apprentice. And I call it a Padawan learner for all your Star Wars fans. Just one really neat person that likes to do art. They don't have to be super talented, but I've had a lot of artists approach me, young artists that want to like learn how to do murals. And murals are a great way to like take someone on and show them how to do that process. And it's also really helpful because murals are huge. They're big. It's like siege on a castle. You know, you have to really know how to approach it, and so an apprentice is the way to go.
I like it. Is it hard to make a living as an artist?
Yeah, yeah,
I would think so. I would think. I
I've
would-
had awesome rewards and I've had awesome disappointments where I thought I should have really gotten a project. So you have to face rejection and disappointments, and also you have to be able to like not even think of, you know.
We got a question out
Oh,
there for
sorry.
somebody. No question out there? You sure? How's Instagram doing over there and questions and that kind of stuff? I know it's a big, okay, a lot of people out there talking and chatting it up over there. All right. So, if I may ask you, and this is an open-ended question, you know, what have you learned in this last 50 years?
Well,
Like what kind of,
I've learned to like myself, I think.
thank God, thank
understand-
God, because I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Well, I'll explain that. Like when you're first starting out as an artist, everything is task oriented.
yes.
Get this project, get it finished, next. Get that done, next. Because I'm raising a family. How do I make a living? Keep painting. And I never really appreciated. So recently I started, like 50 years recently, I decided to do archive all my work.
Wow.
And I started finding stuff in boxes, and I had this huge barn studio. And after going through stuff for about 4 months, I put together an entire archive of 50 years, and I started looking at stuff from like 1975.
You're
going,
like, wow.
And then, gee, I did a nice job. Oh boy, I really worked hard on that, and I liked the way that came out. And I started really liking
Did you find anything?
what I did.
Did you find anything you started working on that you're like, I wish I had done differently, and then all of a sudden started another project from that? Have you, like, you know, maybe you
You
did
know,
something?
but that's the thing that always is tough, because Judy has been great about saying to me, when's that going to be done?
Right, yeah.
We have a contract.
Right, right,
We
right.
have a time frame, and if you don't finish that on time, we have an unveiling for a big project.
Right,
You can't lollygag. You can't.
right.
So it was always about like finishing and getting it done
So
right.
basically, what you're saying is Judy has a whip. Whoopsh. She keeps you in check. She makes
She
sure
won't let me. She won't let me say that. I always used to kid her and say,
Just kidding, Judy.
we go to an event and people go, hey, where you been? I said, well, Judy let me out. She took the ball and chain off, and everybody laughs, and Judy hates that. But Jude,
If it wouldn't be for Judy, honestly,
it's true.
we need people to keep us in check because what happens, we start to get like sidetracked. It's like kind of even having a conversation we're doing here.
Yeah.
Like we could start going this way and that way, but I got to get through some questions over here and make sure that people get as much information I can in the shortest period of time. But we're going to make sure we have you back on the show because there's a lot more questions I
Thank
have.
you.
The most important thing for me to have everybody here is really get to know who Tony Falcone is. An amazing artist,
Thank
a
you.
guy who's in so much in the last 50 years. You guys, I mean, you got to go to his website to get a little piece of the puzzle. You've got to think to yourself is, do you or somebody you know want or dream to have something done, whether it comes to you in your home, an artist's photo of the photo of the family blows me away. Maybe you have a pet that you would like photograph with yourself or that passed
Even
on.
corporations, you want to have a real focal point when people enter your business. I love
Oh,
doing
yes.
work like that.
You know, we talked about that in our office here. It's very plain Jane. It's gray walls everywhere.
Right.
And I tell people all the time when it comes to owning a house, when you own a house, you can do whatever you want with the walls. Maybe you want to make a beautiful mural. When you go to sell your house, and I've had this happen before where I tell people, you got to paint your walls now. And they said, but we had this whole wall painted. And I said, here's the problem with that. That's very personalized. So you got to enjoy it for the 20 years you lived here.
But Dave, you could do a stretched linen or canvas. I do custom shaped paintings on canvas.
Wow.
So you could have it on a wall and then
And
take
then
it
roll
off,
it back
take
up.
it with you.
That's a really good idea.
As a matter of fact, corporations that have like a large wall, I've done paintings in the studio 24 feet long
Wow.
and then installed them in corporations or businesses. I
And it
hope
looks
people-
like it's part of the wall.
I want to give a shout out for one of the projects I just finished. It's in Old Saybrook, and it's the Saybrook Inn Resort and Spa.
No kidding.
And I did the Choo Choo Lounge. I came up with a logo and did a whole train theme in there.
The Seabrook Inn has been there for years.
Right. But those paintings were done at the studio and then taken a large mural and just put up, and then they're ready to just start serving drinks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Tony Falcone, everybody. Guys, if you want to get to know Tony, if you'd like to have a chance to meet him, to do some work for you and your family, your business, you've got to reach out to him. Tony Falcone, 203-671-1256. You're going to go to his website. It's falconeartstudio.com.
Yep.
Is that right? Falcone, Falcone, artstudio.com. And you can also email Tony at falconeartstudio@att.net. Tony, amazing, fantastic. I mean, there's so
Thank
many
you.
things we can get involved in here. I want to find out more about the ball and socket. We're going to bring you on the show again. We're going to find out what's going on with the ball and socket in Cheshire over there. I know there's
Yep.
people out there who'd like to know more about that.
I'd love to share more. They're a great organization.
And you're a great guy for them to have and for us to have here on the show. It's been a pleasure getting to know you personally in the gym and hanging out, but
Yeah.
get to know you as a person and the artist that you are and the amazing things you're doing and have done over the last 50 years. I cannot believe 50 years. A real artist for 50 years doing it, something he loves. It's a passion that he made a business and a livelihood for his family, and he brings good things to life. I mean, really, you take things that are important to people and you make it last forever. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
amazing stuff. Thank you so much, my friend. I want to wish you an amazing future, and I can't wait to be a part of you and this show again in a few months to see what's going on. I want to
Awesome.
thank you all for watching this show, but
Thank
we
you.
have the next part of our show, Tony, is we give out a free tumbler to anybody who would like one. If you want to be on the spinning wheel to win a free tumbler, you just have to let us know there on Facebook, Instagram, somewhere, even on YouTube. Let us know you want to be a part of the free giveaway. We'll add you to the spinning wheel. Thane's going to spin that wheel for us right now. Does anybody have any questions out there before we end the show over here?
George, remember, said thanks, David, and congrats, Tony.
George, thank you so much, my friend, for being a part of the show and watching.
George, hope to see you soon. We're going to be doing that sculpture.
Wow, very exciting stuff. You know what we got to do is you got to get you film you making these sculptures and little reels and have them on like social media to kind of get people to see little pieces of it as it comes to life.
Yeah, that'd be
Cool,
cool.
cool stuff. All right, Thane, let's get you to spin that wheel, buddy. Let's see how it goes. Spin around, around, around.
Sherry Champagne.
Sherry Champagne, congratulations. You are the new winner of a Team Powerhouse tumbler. We are excited to have you a part of the show, watching the show, and getting this free tumbler. Make sure to reach out to us, please, so we can send this to you. We need your contact. Was that Instagram, Facebook? Where was it from? Okay, so Sherry Champagne, please reach out to us so we can get you this tumbler. We need your information. You can call me 203-671-7062. And again, everybody here, if you're looking to buy or sell a house, it would be an honor and a pleasure to work for you and your families or anybody you know. This is a real estate team. Eric's not here today with me to kind of talk more about that. But more importantly, it's a relationship building experience, as you know Tony better than anybody else does. And we appreciate this opportunity to have Tony on the show and to make this reality come true. So
Cool.
thank you so much again, buddy. You guys have a
Thank you.
wonderful day, evening, and we will see you next week on another show with Team Powerhouse.